The next time controllers checked, the satellite had stabilized even more and moved into a position that exposed the solar panels to the sun for a brief 10 minutes. When the crew awoke from their sleep period, Goddard had presented them with a solar max that was ready for capture. Crippen could now move the shuttle toward the satellite for another grapple attempt with the robot arm.
This is Mission Control, Houston. Loss of signal at the tracking satellite. The remote manipulator arm was in motion at the time of loss of signal.
Challenger Houston standing by through Yargety.
Okay, we've got it, and we're in the process of putting in the FSF.
Outstanding.
With Solar Max secure in shuttle's payload bay, the repair could now begin.
Maybe up a little bit more and a little bit more towards the satellite. Got plenty of room towards
the first order of business, of course, was to change out the attitude control system. That was the main thing, to repair the satellite.
I don't know, maybe that trunnion pin may be...
Next, we attempted the main electronics box, which was a major part of one of the prime experiments. That night, the ground went through the checkout of the satellite to make sure that it was working properly.
Challenger Houston, your go for release as long as you're within 5 degrees.
Roger.
The next day, we redeployed the satellite with the attitude control system and all 7 of its experiments working properly.
The first retrieval and repair of a satellite in space had been a success.
The Solar Max repair mission was a great achievement. It was an example of planning to do something and finding that the primary method of doing it, that is Plan A, didn't work. We had to call upon Plan B during the course of that flight.
The fact that 41C was a success strongly influenced the decision to make 51A a mission which would rescue the Palapa and Westar satellites. An interesting aspect of this mission was that NASA did not own the satellites. The insurance underwriters owned them.
So what was new for us was that now we had a new party involved in the discussions, in that the ownership of the satellites was in fact the insurance underwriter in both cases. So we had a set of discussions in Washington, primarily at our headquarters level, where the details of working out the agreement as to who would pay for what and how much NASA would charge the underwriters gradually developed over a period of time.
A crew was named and began training as a team, with equipment designed and built specifically for the rescue of Palapa and Westar. Perhaps one of the most important elements of the retrieval operation was the apogee kick motor capture device, or Stinger as it was called. It was the tool the astronaut would use, together with his maneuvering unit, to capture the satellite, stabilize it, and bring it back to the shuttle. Hughes Aircraft Company had to begin the complex job of maneuvering the satellites into position before final negotiations with the insurance carriers could be completed. Otherwise, there would not have been enough time to place Palapa and Westar in the precise position, in the precise orbit, at the precise time for rendezvous with the shuttle. On November 8, 1984, the shuttle and its crew of 5 set out to rescue Palapa and Westar. Palapa was there. Hughes Aircraft Company had lived up to its end of the bargain.
Holy mackerel. I am not 20 feet from that satellite. You got about.
Maneuvering Unit pilot Joe Allen flew over to dock with Palapa, while Commander Rick Houck, pilot Dave Walker, and mission specialist Anna Fisher monitored his progress and the progress of Dale Gardner, waiting in the payload bay. Allen inserted the Stinger device into the satellite,
Toggles full.
docked,
Dot.
Then, using his maneuvering unit, stabilized the satellite.
No guess at all.
Fisher moved in with the robot arm
Stop the clock.
Get in there and grab that thing.
Let's go get it, Anna.
Okay, Admiral.
and brought Allen and the satellite back into the payload bay.
Okay. And
There, Gardner attempted to attach the A-frame device to the satellite. The A-frame had a grapple fixture installed on it to be used by the robot arm to hold the satellite, while Gardner and Allen attached the support structure to it.
hold it right there. Brakes on.
The support structure was used to secure Palapa in the payload bay for its return to Earth. The shuttle went out of range of voice and picture coverage as Gardner attempted to attach the A-frame.
Houston, Discovery, we're going to let Dale talk. We got a problem here.
Discovery, Houston.
Okay, Jerry, here we go. The common bracket clamp will not fit on the satellite. The problem is, between the two octagons, between the two common bracket parts of the satellite, is a structure that's sticking out far enough that it is hitting the cross brace of the common bracket clamp, and it's not a piece of structure I can remove.
Okay, understand that, and what are you proposing to do?
We are proposing to go to the no A-frame procedure, and I will go up to the BFR in the forward pallet and try the technique perfected by yourself.
Okay, we copy Plan B and proceed.
Okay.
Plan B was a contingency procedure that astronauts Jerry Ross and Pinky Nelson came up with 1 week prior to launch. Unlike Solar Max, Westar and Palapa were not designed to be retrieved. The customers didn't intend ever to see these satellites again, so there was no need to pay for extensive documentation. As a result, mission planners had to anticipate that the drawings would not illustrate all the details.
So Joe, upon learning that indeed we're going to Plan B, had to detach himself and the backpack from the satellite, fly into the bay, stow the backpack, and come over and get into a foot restraint into a position such that he would now be able to hold the satellite with his hands. So the Plan B that we chose was the one that required Joe then to take the place of the robot arm to hold the satellite himself with his hands, while I performed the functions that needed to be done on the other end of the satellite. And then finally, when that was all done, for us together to berth the satellite into the payload bay, the other function that the robot arm would normally do.
Okay, yes, Joe, you can move across.
If you got two, you can latch the third, guys. You have it ready back there?
3 latches down and locked.
Oh, my goodness.
Mission elapsed time 4:05:57:43.
All right, we got her.
The first satellite was secured in the payload bay, but it had not been an easy task. Perhaps Plan B could be improved upon. There was a one-day intermission between the Palapa and Westar retrievals, so Jerry Ross and Pinky Nelson went back into the water tank at the Johnson Space Center where they first developed Plan B to see if it could be improved upon.
But the major difference was I would hold the satellite from a position on the arm, the robot arm. And that enabled us to work in the vertical without getting near the satellite already safely stowed aboard.
Houston, Discovery.
Discovery, Houston.
Roger, we have 2 satellites latched in the bay.
Roger, that gave us a big cheer down here.
Mission 51A was a success, a dramatic example of the usefulness of man's presence in space. 51A also proved once again that plans and procedures could be altered on the spot if necessary to get the job done. NASA would put this experience into good use again in 1985 as 2 additional missions became involved in satellite rescue and repair.